Good afternoon, everyone. As Kim said, I'll be talking about the invasive plant control in an urban environment, and I'll just be using City of Cape Town as a case study. So, just to give an overview of the Invasive Species Unit in the City of Cape Town, we've got 4 projects, which are the Terrestrial Project, the Aquatic Project, Special Projects, and Knowledge Management. Under the Special Projects, we have got the early detection and rapid response. We've also got the invasive alien plants and also green jobs. Under Knowledge Management, we've got all of our data that comes in from all of the clearing, and we also have got monitoring and evaluation included in that. I'll be focusing on the terrestrial part since I'm the project manager for the terrestrial weeds. So the terrestrial invasive plant management, we've got 3 funders, and that's Working for Water, Kader Asmal project, which is an expanded public works program funding, and then we've also got our City of Cape Town departments. Under the Working for Water project, we've got 5 projects currently running, and under the Kader Asmal project, since its inception in February 2012, we've created about 6,500 job opportunities and about 400 full-time equivalents just in that project. Then under the City of Cape Town departments, we've got 9 departments on board at the moment, and it all ranges from the environmental resource management, which is the nature reserves, and we also fall under that department. And we also have city parks, housing, so all kinds of departments, and we're trying to get more departments on board with invasive alien clearing. Then we've got the big problem within the City of Cape Town and also within the urban environment is that we're trying to find a balance between biodiversity and water resources, which of course are priority. But then, as Miriam also said, is that expectations from departments and from landowners is totally different. So we need to find the best possible solution. And the challenges that we are finding as the City of Cape Town, and these are just some of the main ones highlighted at the moment, is fire and safety, biomass and expectations, as I've said, and also emerging weeds and garden escapees. I'll be just concentrating on a few of these and just highlighting exactly what the challenges are for the City of Cape Town. So, a big thing for us is safety. We've got a lot of criminal aspects that are associated with just invasive alien plants on different areas, and these criminal elements range from, because we have to clear areas where there's some muggings that are happening, and all the way to murders and rapes. So we always have to make sure that we clear those areas on behalf of other departments. Here you can see fire and safety, or fire is also a huge problem. During the fire season, we get inundated with requests to clear invasive alien plants because it poses such a big threat. And what we want to do is we want to avoid the 2000 fire that happened in the Cape, where we lost 80% of we lost 8,000 hectares of land, and then we also had 20% of the natural vegetation on the peninsula was lost, and also 70 houses. So you can see the huge problem that we have to constantly make sure that doesn't happen again. And you can imagine the first excuse that people use is, well, you have to clear it, otherwise we're going to have this problem on our hands again. So we have to always make sure that we avoid this problem. But the big problem is the City of Cape Town still hasn't learned from the 2000 fire, because once the fire went past, then of course there wasn't a plan in place to have a follow-up or anything done. So now we've got 13 years of biomass that's now collected. And all that the departments did in those 13 years now is that they just used to clear fire belts. But what we're trying to do is now convince them that they must clear all of their properties, not just always fire belts. So that's where we're trying to come on board and make sure that the departments see into the long-term future and not just short-term, just doing fire breaks the whole time. So with regards to biomass, you can see everywhere we clear, there's a lot of biomass left over. And Miriam just showed this lovely picture. So we were responsible for the whole clearing effort at the Bloberg Nature Reserve. It's a Working for Water project. And you can see different stacks that have been put here. This is stacked for burning, and this is also stacked for burning, but in a different manner. So here, with biomass, with the City of Cape Town, the biggest problem is that it's really costly for us to get rid of biomass because we can't leave material lying around like this. As soon as we leave material, dead material lying around, we get inundated again with fire hazards and all of those. So we have 3 options available to us with all of this material. And that includes, firstly, if it's a small enough site, then contractors would just pile that material that they cut down and then take it to a landfill, which is very costly. Second option is bringing in a chipper, and then either those chips can be sprayed on the area, or the department might say that you have to actually remove the chips off the property too. And then the third option that we have available is to stack for burning, which happened here. And I know there was a whole area here that was just recently burnt, and I went back there the other day, and it's like a desert now. So the stacking for burning is the cheapest option for us. So we try and convince most departments, especially if it's a big enough area, that we should do stack burning. Then we just cut costs at least. But we have to clear all the biomass because otherwise we get asked or we get told to remove it. So how do we respond to these challenges that we have? Well, firstly, we need to prioritize exactly where we're going to be working. That's the big thing, and I'll be discussing it in the next slide. And then we also need to follow adaptive management approach. So we have to be flexible. If a fire has run through an area, you need to know that 6 months later there has to be a follow-up. You could also go according to species. So sometimes if you work a whole area, then you know that you should rather just be working on pine and Hackia species, and then you can go to Port Jackson's afterwards. But then the other thing, as Miriam said, is we're trying to close the knowledge doing gap. And we have now gone into partnership with CIV and Rhodes University to help us in the fields of restoration and vegetation, and then Rhodes University with biological control. And therefore, we're building this research management interface, which will help us in the future. But then lastly, one thing that we mustn't forget that helps us in the challenges is our skilled contractors that we try and keep. Because these are the guys who do the tough work on the ground. So we ensure that we get skilled contractors, they do really good quality, and that they are productive. How do we prioritize our areas? This is the priority list that we try and follow, but of course sometimes you have to adapt all the time. We try and make sure that we do follow-ups first of all, and then once we've scheduled all of our follow-ups, then we also make sure that we have the nature reserves and all of the biodiversity networks. Then we focus on water resources, such as our Vemershoek Working for Water project, which is in the Vemershoek catchment. And then we have to focus on safety, as I showed you with the fire and the criminal elements. And then we deal lastly with the departmental requests and ad hoc requests. So the take-home message for us in the City of Cape Town is it is a challenge to manage these invasive species in an urban environment, and to win the battle against invasive plants, we must understand the challenge first of all, and then we must plan carefully and always make sure that you are flexible. You can't just stick to a plan the whole time. It has to be flexible. And then you always have to have an end in mind, and then you always have to have an adaptive approach. And that's where Miriam and the Rhodes University is also going to help us with that. And I'd just like to acknowledge the Invasive Species Unit, especially Louise Stafford, who's the head of the Invasive Species Unit, Working for Water, the Centre of Invasion Biology, Rhodes University, and also lastly our contractors who make us look really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dieter, very much. It was a great talk. Is there any questions?
Dieter, I just wanted to know, with those quantities of organic material that you're removing in a fairly small area, wouldn't it be feasible to make something like briquettes out of them instead of just burning? Is Working for Water not looking into anything like that?
Well, at the moment, we just need to get rid of it as fast as possible. That's our biggest thing. We have looked at other options, but at the moment, fire is our best stacking for fire. But we haven't been approached in like another way to do, any other things with the stacks. What we normally do, in any ways, is to separate the bigger pieces from the smaller pieces, so that because we know that the guys use the firewood, so we make sure that they don't go through all of our stacks. So that's one thing. We know all of the the wood cutters, they come in and take all of the wood.
Just a follow-up question on that. Surely the fire is more about the restoration ecology than just getting rid of the biomass. I mean, having a fire going through that area is more important for the indigenous vegetation to recover. And once a fire's gone through there, what is your plan to deal with the seedlings that will come up? And have you got a budget planned for that?
So, with regards to the seedlings, yes, definitely we use fire as a tool to bring, to get rid of the seed bank, or not get rid of it, just to make sure that everything germinates. But we do have follow-ups planned for all of those sites that we do burn. Can you just repeat your first question again? Sorry.
That's fine. I just feel that the fire is more about restoration than just getting rid of the biomass.
The other thing is also we've got the health department that are on us like instantly if we leave any material lying around. So that's why the department always gets issued with health notices as a fire risk. So that's why we also have to make sure fires get done.
But have you managed to motivate the council budget for the follow-up?
Yes, we make sure that the departments know that they have to do follow-ups on the areas.
Peter, I just want to know what kind of species are you working on? The reason I'm asking is that we have been approached by woolworths in terms of for grants, is to start businesses on wood for fuel and so on. But I want to know what kind of species are you working on and how big are those areas?
Well, that huge area there, that was mostly just Port Jackson. And then we have another big area in Dido Valley in the South Peninsula, which is mostly Port Jackson and Hakia. So, but we do have, most of the roy plants that we do cut, that normally gets taken by the woodcutters that evening. So we don't manage to keep hold of that too long.
DT, what big area you doing control program on there? You haven't thought of adding some other options like aerial application on a block?
We haven't looked at that option yet, no.
And then leave that area where you need to biocontrol and manage a small seed group with oversized a biocontrol program, clear control program, and an aerial application.
We do.
The costing that you come up, I think you might be surprised when your cost will come up with.
Yeah, we do try and do some areas where we can try and convince, of course, some departments to leave the bigger trees for biocontrol. And there are some of those departments who are willing to do that, to go that route. But as I said, the expectations from the departments, what they want, and then what we're trying to do is to make it most cost effective for them. And some departments buy into it, but others don't. They just say, just clear the area, that's the job that they want.
Yeah, but for that site, you could have these running parallel to each other and investigate those on site. And then you've got the answers to give to them.
We do try and suggest that, but the problem is the department who normally pays, they're the ones who then say, well, this is now the final result. So what we're slowly trying to do is, within each department, we're trying to show, because there are some departments that we've got huge success with, and with that success, we're trying to make sure that it spreads to other departments within the city.
Thanks very much. Mine is actually a comment and not necessarily a question. And I think I would just like to appreciate two things that you spoke about. One being the issue of research, that in all our operational work that we do, priority should always be given to research, because that is the fundamental thing that should guide us all throughout. And I think Nicholas from St. Pat's already pointed to the fact that we need to move much more towards working in complementary ways with the working for land projects. Because I'm of the view that once we get all our ducks in a row, things will begin to roll out. Specifically, I'm looking at the issue of ensuring that the restoration component is actually rolled over in all the working for projects, because I think we need to move away from that element of thinking in a layman's mind and make sure that we ensure that we return the ecosystems to their former positions and not necessarily think about just clearing and actually do something. Because for instance, when you think about the grasslands biome, most of which are now encroached by native species, but they were formerly grasslands, and they are meant for grazing. And they are actually not functional at the moment because they cannot sustain the carrying capacity. It's something that we need to look at. So I'm just appreciating things that you are doing too. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Any final questions? Okay, thank you very much.